welcome to the TCAD 10-Minute Take. This is our sister show to the TCAD podcast where we talk about one movie and one movie only.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Sheree Stewart, and with me as always is my intrepid co-host, Don the Legend Chambers. Today we are talking about Bohemian Rhapsody. But before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe and also click the bell down there so you can get any updates. And anytime we drop a new TCAD 10-Minute Take, it'll show up in your inbox.
Yes.
So, Bohemian Rhapsody.
All right.
I will
get the timer going.
Set the timer. And go.
All right. So, Bohemian Rhapsody. Let me just say, as somebody who does not know Queen, nor Freddie Mercury, or Brian May, I believe one of the guitarists. I mean, I don't know any of those guys deep. Okay, I know some Queen songs. I will say, as somebody who's basically then came into this movie kind of fresh, not knowing anything, I really enjoyed it. I thought Rami Malek was really good. I thought everybody was good. Even when Mike Myers showed up, that surprised me. And I was like, hey, it's Mike Myers. And I thought he was great. I thought everybody was really good. Now, I don't know how much of the story is true, how much was sort of exaggerated for drama, or like the Phil character. Who knows if that was a real person or just somebody they threw in there to, create some drama or anything like that. But I'm just going to say, overall, thoroughly enjoyable. I sat there really interested in what was happening, what was going to happen. Music was stellar. To me, Rami Malek really kind of pulled it off. Although I will say, after I came out the movie, and then I kind of went on YouTube to try to look up some Freddie Mercury interviews. I mean, there doesn't seem to be like a whole swath of them, but there's just some. And maybe for the interviews, he seemed to come off a bit less eccentric and kind of flamboyant as he does in the movie. But then again, I'm only seeing a couple of interviews, and I don't, wherever Rami was getting his information from, probably talking to family or friends or wherever he was getting it from, I'm sure that's what he was basing it on. But I would definitely give this one. This is definitely worth seeing. Opening night, you come out there on the weekend, you go. I think anybody would have a good time. Not just, even if you're not a fan of Queen, you don't really have to know much about them. But the music's good and the story's great. It's a good movie, really. If I was to give it like a number, I'd probably give it like 8 to 9 out of 10. This is really good.
And what's our scale? What's your?
Oh yeah, our scale is opening night. Opening night, paying full price easily. Yeah, for sure. You don't need to go IMAX. You don't need to go crazy. Although the end scene at Live Aid, maybe. But I mean, for a good movie, for just one scene, is not worth an IMAX ticket. No. So just a regular theater opening night on a Saturday night, absolutely well worth it.
Okay. I will say, I'd always sound so negative when I start, but even if it's a movie that I like it's like, I didn't hate it. No. Okay. So here's the thing. I know obviously more about Queen than you do.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of Queen and Freddie Mercury, and here's what I'll say. Yes, you're absolutely right when you catch that in the interviews, how he's more shy and reserved and less flamboyant, and that is the general day-to-day persona of Freddie Mercury. Was a little less. He was more toned down than the movie version. That was his stage presence and his like performative presence.
Sure. Yeah.
Which wasn't his day-to-day situation. Like he was definitely much more reserved and shy, and even so much like kind of especially in the early days, like self-conscious about, like he kind of had like a little bit of Michael Jackson, like he would like, giggle, and like he was just more of a shy introspective person in general, from what I know from more interviews seeing, and like just different, and like sources from, you know, the band and the family. And Rami Malek's performance was excellent, but it was definitely a heightened performance of his stage performative presence.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So that definitely is in there. I thought that one thing that definitely bothered me a little bit was the teeth. I think they were a little too big. It was kind of distracting because they were like really straight across the front, so they looked like caps. Rather, I think they just could have done like a tiny bit less, like made it a little less distracting. And then I was also curious as to why maybe Rami Malek just can't wear contact lenses. Because one thing that always, you know, struck me about Freddie, I mean, these are like nitpicky, that always struck me about Freddie Mercury was he had really piercing dark brown eyes. And they were just like hypnotic when you looked at it and you watch him talk and you watch him sing, and they're just very interesting for, you know, and Rami Malek has like these light gray eyes, and they didn't change that. And I thought that was interesting I don't know if it was a choice or maybe he just couldn't like wear the lenses or whatever. But I just thought that was a weird choice. With that said, it felt to me very paint by the numbers Hollywood biopic. And I could tell that there were they had problems with where, you know, Bryan Singer was like gone a lot, and the cinematographer, you could tell the cinematographer took over because it was beautifully shot, and a lot of things revolved around cinematography rather than nuance of storytelling. Which is not to say that it was bad, because it wasn't bad. But there were some things that bothered me some, where like the portrayal of his sexuality was, you know, either he was gay or he was straight. Like he had, and then it was weird because it was like he had this loving, you know, healthy-ish, idealized heterosexual relationship with Mary, and then this debaucherous gay lifestyle on the side. And it was like, that was presented as like, you know, good, and this was bad until the end when he met Jim.
I don't know. It never seemed never seemed like a good or a bad thing to me.
Well, it's not good or bad, but it was just like, it was not like his heterosexuality was never presented as debauchery in any way.
Well, I think that, the only difference I would say to that is to me, it kind of came off as there were certain moments where you could tell he seemed a bit not confused, but conflicted. And so the whole thing, it came off conflicted. And then certain scenes with some of the parties, to me, it came off as he was definitely overcompensating, and he was definitely going through a more conflicting time in his life about family. Like family was a big theme.
Sure.
And the family he thought he had with her, and then he was trying to replace that with all of these random people in these parties.
Well, what I'm saying is all the random people at the parties were dudes, and he was definitely hooking up with tons and tons of women. And they were doing it to like, I think they were kind of trying to preserve his legacy a little bit and make him not seem like kind of a bad guy. Whereas, you know, he loves this woman, and she is, you know, she's understanding because he's gay, you know, rather than him like sleeping with like tons of women and tons of men. And being, like, you know, I mean, they're good. You can be good, and you can be, you know, still a piece of shit sometimes.
True. I mean, but now Mary's very important. I mean, in his life, because
but that's the other thing too. She never left his life. Like, she stayed with him, and there wasn't like this big break. Like, they stayed like super best friends the whole time. And so
that's why I'm wondering, how
like
over dramatized or what they create, because even in his death, he left his remains to her and told her. Where to bury that.
He left her the house and like half his estate too.
Seriously,
and
so it's
her
like
and her kids. So their relationship was never like broken and had to like, and the relationship with the band, like they had like the it was the tip. That's what I'm saying. It's like a typical Hollywood, like they have to break apart and be apart for like years, and he has to become. They were never apart like that. Like they were still doing, even when he was doing his solo stuff, and the other guys were doing solo stuff too, and they were still doing their own albums. They had like tons and tons of albums. They were never apart like that. And like he had like his worm tongue, you know, insinuating devil on his shoulder and Paul Prentice, which was true to an extent, but a lot of it was Freddie himself doing what he was going to do. It wasn't like he had this, you know, devil on his shoulder, like making him be a certain way. And I feel like they were very safe in their portrayal of him because they want to preserve their legacy. And I feel like that was one of the reasons why the Sacha Baron Cohen version didn't work out, because, you know, Rami Malek's going to come in, he's going to study Freddie Mercury, he's going to put on a hell of a performance, and that's going to be it. Sacha Baron Cohen was going to come in and try to say something. Like he was going to come in and like he was collaborating with them and like trying to make a vision to say something specific about whatever it is that he was going to try to say. And I think that they just, and like, you know, there were some changes that they made to sort of like make it that Hollywood, like him announcing to them that he had AIDS before the Live Aid concert. That didn't happen. Like he didn't even really know until a couple of years later. And so it like they needed, like that was the end of the movie and the climax, so they needed to like have that. So they like shifted some things around, and you know, and then there were some things that were like, you know, interesting that I didn't know, like when he proposes to Mary, like her story of how he proposed is really cute and cinematic, and I don't know why they made it so plain, and like it was like truncated for time. They like rushed through so much stuff. Like so much stuff was rushed through. Like I want to know, you know, how they got together was not right either. Like he was friends with them for a few years before their lead singer left, and like he kind of got into, and he had done his own music with other bands, but like how, like they said, they're misfits. They're four people who shouldn't be together, who are making music for outsiders. And it's like how that mesh came together, how that gel came together, like how they developed that Queen sound that we know and love. Like that's kind of what I would have wanted to see a little bit about. Like it just seemed like it was just like magic. Like it just happened. And it was an upward trajectory, and there were never any highs and lows as far as the music was concerned. And they had some bad albums, and they had some, you know, fights and stuff, but it was always just like up, 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 up in this movie until the crash of his lifestyle and debauchery. And then he had to come crawling back and have like the beg for, like it was very Hollywood bullet point movie.
Oh no, yeah.
Rather than their real story, which is much more interesting. But it would have been like a topsy-turvy Darren Aronofsky type deal. And this was a paint by numbers, Bryan Singer's gone halfway through, let's just film by committee, finish this movie. And I felt like all of the performances were better than the movie. If that makes sense.
I mean, I can
like I could see him being nominated, but I can't see this movie being nominated.
Right. Movie,
I went a little bit over time, but that's fine. It's whatever. I had to get that off my chest. So for me though, I mean, it was a good movie. It was a good, solid movie. If you really like Queen, they had the rights to all the music. They did some really interesting things with they had studio recordings of Freddie Mercury mixed with, there's a Canadian guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, that's like a Freddie Mercury sound-alike, that they mixed together to make these like more intimate moments of him singing, not just like recordings that we know. So
I was wondering about how they did.
Right. So it sounded like him singing throughout, like even in rehearsals and even in like just in general in private time, and not just the big studio recordings that we all know. And so I felt like that, like it kept it interesting and dynamic, but it sounded like Freddie Mercury, because there's no way. I mean, you got to be like, there's like one guy in Canada who even sounds remotely close. And even then they like mixed it together with actual like takes of recordings from studio recordings that they maybe didn't use on the album. So it was like, you know, without like separate from the backing tracks and stuff. So I thought that was really a nice touch. And, you know, it's hard when you have a biopic and they don't have access to the music, or they don't have the blessing of the family, or they don't have the blessing of the band. And it's like, why are you even doing this? Like, why even, like the Nina Simone thing, which we won't get into, but it's like, why even?
Yeah.
You
what's
can't
the
use,
point at that
what's
point?
the point? Like, why? Like, why? And so this was a very straightforward A to B to C. It doesn't like break any new ground. It doesn't like tell you anything you don't already know. It's just an appreciative kind of like love letter to the band Queen, which is fine. And that's fine because it is what it is, and it's not trying to be anything other than that. Rami Malek was awesome. I'd be surprised if he didn't get nominated for at least a Golden Globe. The kid who played Brian May looked exactly like Brian May. It was like his son or something. I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, all of them are
pretty
were decent, you know.
Yeah. All of them were like spot on. Like the acting was excellent. And the music was excellent. And, you know, it's just not that deep. And that's really fine. And not every movie has to be like, you know, the deepest thing in the universe. Sometimes you just want to have, you know, a good time. It was sad, and it's like, it's made me like go back and like rewatch all of these interviews with Freddie Mercury and listen to him talk. And I've been playing my albums that I have, and it's just like, it's real, you know, tragic, you know, life cut short. But then it's like, you know, I don't know, like I can't imagine Freddie Mercury sitting in a car with James Corden doing carpool karaoke, you know, if he was like, if he was still alive, like it just would be like. And then if he had like a weird bad, you know, rap phase, or, you know, like it's just like weird to imagine, you know what I'm saying, like Freddie Mercury and Run DMC, like collab phase, like it's just weird, like what
but you never
where would
know.
that have, right, because he was into music, like all kinds of music. Like he probably would have had a straight like collab with Death Row Records or some shit like that. Like it's not impossible to imagine that. And so like that doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility at all. So for me, I would say that this is definitely a good movie to go to the theater and see with, you know, anyone who's a fan. And even if you're not a fan, I do think there were some, I wasn't, you know, there was some controversy about the sexuality being downplayed in general, you know, and Freddie Mercury himself was a very like private person about it. And that was just a product of the time. So you can't really place 2018 sensibilities on
it's
a
funny.
figure from.
I saw a couple complaints about it not being in the trailer.
Yeah, and it's like, you can't. They're not going to put that in a trailer. So I mean, they definitely
movie.
Right.
Is there?
They definitely broached it. They definitely. It was part of his life. It was, you know, a huge deal. I do feel like it was, you know, toned down quite a bit from what it, you know, obviously probably was. I think this movie is only PG-13, so there's no like nudity or anything, and there didn't need to be any like nudity or anything in general. It was just, but it did feel it was long too. It was like 2 hours and 25 minutes, but it felt rushed and shrunk. Like everything was like clipped, and it was like, you know, it was just a very straightforward movie. So I would say go see it in a movie theater. I'd pay full price for it on like a Friday night. I wouldn't like go all out with, you know, it's definitely a good movie though. Like, go see it. I know I sound like super negative about it, but I don't know what to tell you. That's just me. I don't know.
I'm so critical,
and it's just not even. It's a good movie, and the performances are great. And if you go see it, you won't be mad about it.
No, you will not. No, you won't. Really, you really won't. That is true.
All right. So that's our time. Join us next time when we'll be talking about something, because there's a whole slate of stuff coming out that some looks good, some looks bad, some looks interesting. We have to decide what we're going to see. If you have anything you want us to see, And it doesn't even have to be movies that are straight up in the theater. This can be Redbox stuff. This can be old movies. We'll go see anything. And it's like, we'll both see it and we'll come and we'll talk about it. That doesn't mean we're going to like it.
We know Creed 2's coming. Thanksgiving.
Creed 2 is coming. Thanksgiving.
We know that for sure. So that's a definite.
That's a definite.
That's a definite.
But yeah, so leave us a comment. Make sure you like and subscribe. Don, tell them where they can contact us.
Where you can contact us. We're all under one umbrella of tcadnetwork.com. Go there. You'll find all our links to our podcast. You'll find links to here, our 10-minute take on YouTube. Also, Good Morning Antioch is up there. There you'll find our email address, tcadpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find links to our Facebook. It's facebook.com/tcadpodcast. And now you don't even have to go to all those different places that we're hosted on, like Stitcher, TuneIn, even iTunes. It is all right there. Hit us up. Leave us a comment. Don't forget, you can also give us a call.
504-345-9344.
Exactly. But it is all right there under one umbrella, tcadnetwork.com. Just go right there. We can't make it any easier, although we will try.
We will try.
We will
always.
try. Always. So yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good wrap up. Like we're saying, go see it whenever you can. It's worth the price of admission.
It's worth it.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
All right. Bye.
Awesome.